Hello, welcome to True Face presents the Charlotte Show. What a great start. We are warming you up for Newcastle United versus Manchester City, all the way over at the Etihad, just as Storm Bella descends on our fine country. So do Newcastle United descend on Manchester. I personally don't feel like I need to watch the match tonight because I already watched Crystal Palace totally capitulate to Villa, and that felt like exactly what I'm about to watch in an hour's time. Norman, are you excited?
Well, you know what? Arsenal are absolutely slapping Chelsea stupid. So obviously that tells us that we can defeat Man City quite comfortably. I firmly believe that. I'm not at all disappointed that I don't get to continue watching the Star Wars films that I started yesterday, and I've got to watch the match instead. I'm not disappointed about that at all.
I don't believe you actually about that one. On that one, I don't believe you.
No, but yeah.
How are you feeling? You said that you were more excited to do this show with your friends than watch the match. Is that still the case, or have you got a last-minute gust of excitement?
Yeah, you know what, Charlotte? I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Christmas miracle, to be asked back on once again on Boxing Day of the Charlotte Show. And you know what? Norman makes a really good point about Arsenal beating Chelsea 3-0 because Norman, what Arteta should have done is recognised that what can you do against teams of that quality? The lads should have rolled their sleeves up and got on with it and put in the kind of performance we put in against Chelsea, because Steve Bruce today said that the team has improved under his watch, and I assume he means that Chelsea game. So, let's not have any nonsense about attacking teams that can't defend like Chelsea, and settle down for a nice royal pounding at the hands of Manchester City.
It's been a while since I settled down for a nice royal pounding.
After my dinner yesterday.
Team news is out. Do you want to talk about it?
Cool. Yeah, tell me what it is, Charlotte. I don't know what it is.
Same.
All right, here we go. We've got Carl Darlow in goal. We've got Yedlin, Cher, Fernandez, Kieran Clark, Matt Ritchie, Isaac Hayden, Matty Longstaff, Jacob Murphy, Miguel Almiron, and Joel Linton.
5 at the back.
Yeah,
how he does this every time a player doesn't play for ages, and then he puts them back in the hardest games possible. Do you not learn anything from Florian Lejeune last year? We haven't seen Cher since fuck knows when. I'm swearing, and he's back in the team tonight, only to be absolutely certain that the next time when we play Sheffield United away, when we eventually go back to 4 at the back, he will definitely not. If Lascelles and Fernandez are fit, Fabian Cher knows he will definitely not be in the team. Doesn't matter how he plays, because that's not how Bruce thinks. Like, it's just incredible.
You know what?
Interesting
that Matty Longstaff
didn't play Matty Longstaff against the Championship club, but brings him in against Man City.
Right. I'll tell you what. Cher, right? You mentioned Florian Lejeune last year. Basically, the 3 games he played over the Christmas period after coming back from like his second serious career-threatening injury, getting played like 3 times successively in a very short space of time, and obviously committing, I think, 2 or 3 errors against Leicester, and having his confidence shattered, and then ending up going from being, I would say, by some distance, our best half, and that's not an exaggeration, our best centre-half, without doubt, right? Going and losing his place in the side or whatever, losing his confidence, going to Spain, and then all of a sudden getting like, La Liga teams every week, the La Liga team of the week, because he's class, right? Cher isn't as good as Lejeune, we know that, but he's still a very good footballer. He comes in against Man City tonight, out from the cold, in Man City batters. Let's say the batter was 4-5-0, right? Confidence, bang, straight off, dropped. Matty Longstaff, 19, 20 years old, will get battered 3 or 4 or 5-0 tonight. De Bruyne tears him a new one. Bang, confidence gone. Now, I understand rotating players, right, at this time of the year. But this is Man City away. Like, do you really need to bring back in players who haven't played for a while and just watch them get absolutely humiliated and drain any kind of semblance of confidence they might have had from not playing prior? I don't think it's a good decision. I hope I'm proved wrong.
I can't believe Matty Longstaff's on today's starting 11. That's astonishing to me. He didn't even get in our last.
Hasn't been getting in the squads, man. Hasn't been the bench. You know what it is? It's the desperate act of a man who doesn't know what he's doing, and he's got away with this once. There was a journalist, I'll not name him, who texted me when we played Man United last season at home. I was in Germany for the game, and he said it's an act. It's a desperate selection. And after the game, he texts us to say, like, that has got nothing to do with Bruce's management. Yet again, he pulled a lad out who hadn't been in the matchday squads, threw him in, and it worked a treat. Then you saw what can only be described as chronic mismanagement. To have a player that talented and doing so well in the Premier League at the age of 19 in central midfield, to have not played him since in the Premier League pretty much since January, and his contract stuff be coming up. It might work. I don't think it will. But if it does work, I'm not giving him the credit for it because it's so ridiculous. Because if anyone listening or anyone watching could make the case that it's sensible to not even have him in the matchday squads all season, and then to select him against Manchester City,
I think you know what I think. Sorry, I'm just butting in quickly, Charlotte, there because it's something that I feel strongly about as well. You're talking about it being like the act of a desperate manager. I would actually add to that, right? I'd add the randomness of putting Jacob Murphy back in the side a few weeks ago. I think that was a desperate act. I think actually bringing DeAndre Yedlin back in from the cold, that was a desperate act. I think last season you could even look at bringing Dwight Gale in from the cold. I think that was a desperate act. I think a lot of what he does is because whatever it is that he's trying beforehand just isn't working. So all he can do is throw curveballs. It's all he can do, right? What can I do that I haven't done already? Okay, bang, I'll do that. There's no, it's not a tactical decision in the sense that it's been thought out, it's been planned. It's basically reactive. It is reactive to the specific situation that he finds himself in that moment. And that situation is, as it has been for a long time, desperation.
And it's not just reactive in a like, okay, we got beat like by Brentford, we got beat, our last few games. What do we need to change here? It's reactive in this like really panicky, like, oh my God, what have I got? What can I do? I'll just put Matty Longstaff on. I feel really sorry for him. This is not the game to throw him on after he doesn't even make the squad. This is just it's the act of a desperate man, but it also feels quite cruel to me. Alan Park, who's watching, I've had that comment on the screen, but for those of you just listening to the audio, Matty Longstaff has gone from not being in the matchday squad to starting 11. Pleased for him, but doesn't it show there is no plan? Bruce is grasping at straws and hasn't a clue. Well, that sort of underpins exactly what we've been saying there. I'm shocked that he's starting. Lots of people saying Matty under the bus sort of thing. Graham Townsley's asked a question. Graham, I'll come back to it because it's not about tonight and we're sort of on the squad right now. So I will come back to you. I promise you. Callum Wilson on the bench. Alex, what do you make of that? So he's not even...
He can't play every game. We've got 3 games in a week, technically 4 games in 10 days if you include Brentford. 5 games in 2 weeks if you look at the Arsenal game. That, like, I don't care who you are, professional football at this level, it would be a massive risk. So I don't hate that. However, what I do hate is the fact that Joe Linton, a player that the manager has said in press conferences cannot play up front. He said it. He said in press conferences he can't do it. Now, as it happens, Joe Linton's last game up front by himself against Chelsea wasn't as bad as some of the performances we've seen from Joe Linton in that role. But again, Andy Carroll, did he? Andy Carroll's on the bench. If Callum Wilson needs swapped out and Andy Carroll starts the season in the team as one of our best 11 players, surely this is the time to play him. I mean, is Gale on the bench? I've not.
So let me, for those of you just watching who haven't seen, I'll give you the bench. It's Gillespie, Carroll, Gale, Callum Wilson, Lewis, Kraft, Manquillo, Sean Longstaff and Anderson.
Manquillo's back from nowhere. The dead.
Anderson.
Yeah, is that Elliot Anderson? Is that his name?
Oh, hi, Elliot Anderson. Hi,
the kid. Yeah, I don't think he'll see game time, but then that's me thinking with a logical brain. He probably will go on after 10 minutes. Who knows?
3 centre forwards on the bench is interesting.
Shelby hasn't even hit the bench, so I reckon he's just thought John Joe will still be knackered from Christmas Day. No point even making him travel. Like John Joe Shelby, the vice captain of the squad. No one said he's injured. Didn't look injured the other night. Hasn't even made the squad, and unless to come out and address that, how is that a thing?
I wonder what he eats.
What do you think it is?
Like I reckon like just the standard Sunday, like the kind of standard Christmas/Sunday dinner. But then I reckon that he basically gets a load of Just Roll pastry, just wraps it over like a tray of sprouts and just bakes a massive sprout pie for evening, like for his evening snack. And that's what causes the issues. And Brucey's like, have you been eating sprout pie again? Aye, you're not playing.
Well, it's more like if you've been eating sprout pie, you can't get on the bus with the rest of the players. Like that's not fair with everyone else.
Ostracised through sprout intake.
Yeah. Alex, what were you going to say there?
Where's Fraser? He's not even on the bench. Like what?
No, he's not. No, he's not. So this is not like there are people saying hello, Davey. He's saying like, is Wilson being rested? Maybe Fraser's being rested. We've got, Liverpool, Leicester next. But because our manager and because our season has been so bad and like I was going to say mental, but it's not even been that. It's just been bad. I don't even believe that much thought process has gone into it. Like I've got to rest my players. It's like, oh, things aren't going well. So I've got this tombola machine. So I'll just put all the numbers in and I'll get a squad out of that. That's how it feels to me. I don't know.
Maybe Shelby's actually in a massive tombola and that's why he can't play. He just feels a bit sick.
Yeah.
After having a sprout pie.
There's a lad on Twitter called Rich Oliver who does these pre-match Bruce videos, which are very funny. I don't know him, but they're very funny. And it's like the impression he does of Bruce, where Bruce is kind of like sat at home Christmas night, had a couple of bottles of wine through the day, and he's kind of got like the squad in front of him, but one of the pages of the A4 is wrapped on itself. So he's missed out like Dummett, Fraser, Shelby. And the next day, one of the Steves has said, well, where's John Joe? Where's Thing? And he's just gone, oh, I've not had that. I've not. Like, you have. And he's like, right, we'll say they're rested. And then, I don't know, we'll stick Elliot Anderson. Who've we got back there? Who's in that academy? Stick him in. And one of them said, why is Dwight Gale not playing? And he's just like, oh, I've done it again. Like, what? How can Dwight Gale come on off the bench in 3 games in a row and play up front, and Joe Linton come off the bench 3 games in a row and play in the left wing, and then he starts Dwight Gale on the bench and Joe Linton up front? Like it just wouldn't happen with another manager. And like I agree with you completely, Charlotte. There's no like master plan here. It's just, well, we got beat the other night, so the lads who played, you're out. Yous lot, and if yous lot don't do it, these lads are back in. So you need to play well because you'll be out that team. What's the point in them, backwards?
As if that's like a massive deterrent. It's just like, well, I'll be back next week then, because none of us can do it because we've got no plan, because we don't know where we're playing, because we've created no partnerships on the pitch, because like God, any number of things. Synovius watching says, watch Bruce Fluker win in the next 3, and the pundits get off in their pantaloons.
I'll get off if he wins the next 3. Like, fair enough.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I'm going to say it now.
Newcastle's odds, by the way, have shortened from 25 to 1, which was a record for a Premier League game for one team, to 22 to 1, because I think Man City have rested a couple of players, as you'd imagine. Aguero's not playing, which is like a massive boost to Newcastle. Who are they actually playing up front, Man City? I'm not quite sure, because Jesus has got
you look that up and let us know, Alex, and I will keep us going. Toon Tone says Bookie had this 20 to 1 earlier today, must be 50 to 1 now. Yeah, well, Alex is updated.
But the thing is, Man City, right? Whoever they bring in for the players that they're resting would walk into our team, our full strength 11. Like any player that they bring in, there isn't one player in our squad that gets in ahead of any one single player in Man City squad.
no. There isn't, and it's been pointed out several times on Twitter since Brentford that we really do have championship level players, like mid-championship level. A lot of them had mostly only played in the championship. There's no way. There's just no way. I've got a big smile on my face because I always grin like an idiot, but I'm saying there's no way we're going to get anything from tonight. I just can't see it.
What, Charlotte? You know what it reminds me of? I went to Manchester City in 2013 or 2014. Yeah, 2014 on Halloween during half term. There was 3,000 Newcastle fans went to watch Alan Pardew side play, and the team selection was even more ridiculous than this. It was just like Adam Armstrong started up front by himself, and it was, people said of it that Pardew basically tried to throw the game and ended up pulling out the result of his tenure. 1-2-0. Like, his front three was Rolando Aarons, Adam Armstrong, and Sammy Amiobi. He moved Ryan Taylor in, who wasn't playing, into midfield with Mehdi Abid or someone. And that front five beat a full strength Manchester City, who were at the time champions. We probably should have won by more. So crazier things have happened against this side.
Yeah, but it's been, Pardew keeps getting talked about, actually. People being like, at this stage, I'm saying Pardew's a better manager. Well, that's definitely true, isn't it? That doesn't feel like a controversial statement to me.
It's a tough one, that, because I think, would I prefer Pardew now? Things are really grim under Bruce, so I think rose-tinted glasses and nostalgia obviously play a massive part in how we feel right now. And I genuinely look at Pardew's record at West Brom. I mean, he spectacularly ruined it at West Brom. He also, by the end of his tenure at Palace, they were on one of those gigantic losing streaks that he had historically at Newcastle. And then he went to ADO Den Haag in Holland, and it was just an absolute mess. ADO Den Haag. And I think that ultimately, yes, how I feel about Bruce right now, if Pardew was announced tomorrow, it would probably make me happy for 10 minutes. But then I'd realise that actually both of them, neither of them should be anywhere near a Premier League job. That's the reality of it. So it's like comparing, I don't know. I don't want to say it because it's a swear word. And I'm not going to, because it's live, innit? So shit and Shay. It's like comparing shit with Shay.
He said it, you guys. I hope you're not watching.
I'm sorry. I hope no one was offended by the swearing.
Yeah, it is. Let me have a look. Julian, hi Julian, says, I wonder if it's a team designed to lose and protect the non-playing players. If you're Bruce looking at this fixture, and you think, I'm just going to put out a team designed to lose, that would be Bruce looking at the next 3 or 4 fixtures, wouldn't it? You cannot approach these games like that, in my opinion. You just cannot. Alex, do you think that that's the case? Do you think he's just put out a suicide squad?
I think it's not a bad shout by Julian, because Jonjo Shelvey not even being on the bench, it's just, and he's not injured. He played the full game the other night. I promise you he's not injured. It just seems a bit like let's face it, he went into that Brentford game, would have been terrible the week before. But if we'd won that Brentford game, even if the game had gone exactly like it had gone against Brentford, the likes of me, us three, and people watching probably still would have been very unsatisfied that Championship team had outplayed us. But his friends in the wider media would have celebrated it. It would have been used as this mocking tool for Newcastle fans. He has taken you to a semi-final. And I think whatever happened in these next 3 games, that would have been the context. But because that didn't happen, quite rightly it didn't happen, because we weren't good enough on the night. I just think, I agree with you, Charlotte. It's almost just like panic. It's almost blind. Well, Matty Longstaff, bring him in. See what happens. Let's play Jacob Murphy behind the striker. Just like, we talk every week or most weeks on the podcast about how difficult for the players it is to build up partnerships around the pitch, because there's so many different players and combinations. And we've talked about Jamal Lewis. Who's playing in front of Jamal Lewis tonight? Is Jamal Lewis even playing?
No. He's on the bench.
So Matt Ritchie's probably going to be left back in the back 5. It's like, so he brings Lewis back for Wednesday, and then he's on the bench again. He had a bad game on Wednesday, but there was so little consistency here. it is like just 11 blokes hired up there. And if they don't make it work, we'll pick 11 different ones against Liverpool. And if that doesn't work, 11 different ones against Leicester. And then that's rotation, isn't it? You'll come out, I've got no doubt, and dig at the journalists and say, well, last year they said I didn't change enough. We only ruined Florian Lejeun's Newcastle career by making him play 3 games in 8 days when he played football for 18 months. It's just a total car crash.
Yeah, it is. Norman, I'm coming to you. Lee Foster's watching, and I noticed on Twitter this morning, Lee, it's your son's birthday, so happy birthday to him. Norman?
Happy birthday to you, young and Lee. What I was going to say was, imagine being like a Newcastle player today, right? And it's dead easy to say, well, these lads are all on loads of money. It's not that bad of a lifestyle for them, whatever. We know that, right? We know like the life external to what happens on the football pitch because of the financial rewards. You know, they've got so much more than we have, and money can to a certain extent buy you incredible amounts of happiness. We know that, you know, that's not being naive. That's a reality, right? But at the same time, you take pride in your work, and nobody likes to be humiliated, right? Now, Newcastle players might go out there tonight, they might put in like a complete, a really sort of completely surprising performance, and that would be great, right? But ultimately, that's probably not going to happen. And imagine being one of the Newcastle players today, right? Like, I reckon there'll probably be players here this morning thinking, I hope I'm not starting. Like, I'm genuinely hope I'm not starting, because I honestly think, like, you know, when I used to play football as a kid, and I played for a couple of teams that weren't particularly good, or you'd come up against one of the teams, the best teams in the league, like a team that would tank people like 7, 8, 9 out, right? On a Sunday morning at 10:30, and you wake up and you think, like, I didn't want to do this, but you're doing it just because you feel like obliged to do it because your mates are doing it. But you're like, I'd really not rather not be playing. Like, I honestly think there are probably some Newcastle players like that today thinking, like, what I didn't want to be on the pitch because this is going to be awful, and that's really sad. And I think I just saw a comment there. I think, majestic pillow, great name. Feels shameful for a Premier League team to put out a team to lose. I guess that is also, that is really bad, but it's also really sad that there's such a gulf in class in terms of like managerial abilities in squads in the Premier League that there'll be players there today thinking they didn't want to play. That is really sad.
Yeah, and it's also, I think, when players are thinking, I don't want to play, there's also an element of the backlash because it won't go well. And there's backlash on social media. Social media is all we've got, right? We're not in the stadiums. We can't direct our frustration and anger at Bruce or Shelby's just wandering around the pitch, not with any urgency. And so people take to their computers, like everybody's on their phone or on their computer during these matches, and there becomes this backlash, and it gets picked up by the media, and it becomes really cyclical, I think, because then it gets in your head, and you get for confidence players especially. I mean, we keep coming back to Matty Longstaff, but that's it would, as a 19-year-old or whatever he is, you know, he's a kid. That's got to get in your head, and you've got to go into tonight knowing that it's you know, like I keep saying, this like, you know, this like destined to fail, this mission destined to fail, and I think it would be really cyclical, and it doesn't end. And I don't know. I don't really know the point I'm trying to make. I just think that it's this sort of like very, very negative spiral, I think. Great. Alex, you haven't spoken in a while. You look quite dejected. Are you okay?
I'm good. I've got my friends. We've got the good people watching with their great comments, and I've got some Christmas acai, which I got. Well, there's the camera. Got beer, which is a really, really nice drop for anyone who's not had it.
It's really nice.
But yeah, it's just, I put a tweet out today saying Man City are 8th. Are they better than the teams that are? In fact, they might have gone down to 9th, but since Villa won. But are they better, you know, than teams above them? Yes, they are. Do I expect them to finish above them? But it goes back to the point Norman made earlier. You know, like if we went there 1-3-1 tonight, there has to be a plan to win the game. If we've gone there and he's told them, lads, you know what this lot did? We're back in June or whenever we played them, and we'll put in maybe the worst ever performance I've seen from Newcastle side when we lost 5-0 and it should have been 10. I just think these aren't that good. These aren't that good. So if you're resting players for this game, when they're not that good. They might finish fourth this season. They might not make the top four. It's all conjecture, and I don't know that much about Manchester City. What I do know is West Brom went and got a point off them a couple of weeks ago. Fulham went and gave them a decent game and only lost 2-0. Leicester, who are no great shakes, went there and scored 5. This is not Manchester City of 18-19, who were beat, by the way, in that season when they got to 100 points. This is not that side. This is a side missing several key players. And whoever goes out there tonight and however they're set up, if I see them once again, just like in June, and just like we did against Chelsea, and just like we did against Liverpool at the end of last season, if we go out there and we don't even make a tackle, we don't get physical, we don't make it hard for them, I'm not sure I can watch the game through to the end. And it's all right because I'm not podcasting about this one tomorrow. That's over to some other people. But I just think, you can go there. Burnley went there and got beat 5-0, right? They still played 4 at the back. There isn't some unwritten rule that, all right, we're playing a good team. We must get 10 players behind the ball at all time. We must get everyone in our own 18-yard box to try and defend. But yeah, in the last 5-0, I wouldn't be as fussed if we lost 6-0 tonight and at least tried, put some tackles in, made it hard for them. And if the other team are too good, if the other team plays so well, there's nothing you can do. And you think, you know what, fair enough. How long have all of us, you three or us three, and everyone watching, we've been supporting Newcastle all the time. We're used to getting beat. We're used to getting hammered. This manager, previous managers, even before Ashley came in under Souness, we're used to bad days. But what's worse than just a bad day is a bad day where 4-0 is a good result, where Bruce now takes 3-0 defeat, and that's what he's told the players. It's not worth our time watching, and that's what I fear it's going to be. Yeah,
Norman, your finger started waving. Did you want to add?
It's just a twitch. No, Alex said you three there, so it got me thinking that his Asai must be pretty good. Yeah, it's a great point that he makes about losing 6-0, but actually having a gun. Like, a lot of pundits couldn't understand how there'd been such praise for Bielsa's Leeds after losing 6-2 at Man United. You know why there was praise for them? Because Bielsa took what is more or less a championship squad to Man United, right? Gigantically different in terms of resources. Leeds not in the Premier League for, 13, 14 years. They went there and they created a load of chances, right? They got punished every time Man United attacked them because A, they were open, and B, they're not very good defensively. But at the same time, what you saw was a side that was actually intending to score goals. And the only thing that hampered them in terms of an attacking sense, it wasn't that inability to create chances. It was the fact that they don't have a necessarily very good centre forward up front. Yes, Bamford scored a few goals, but he missed a lot of chances. Now, as a fan, I would be looking at thinking, as a Leeds fan, we've got to Man U, we've given it everything. We have given it everything, right? Now, that to me, that 6-2 defeat was way more acceptable than, let's just think back to Pardew's performances, for example, right? The 4-0 defeat away at Southampton, that was a 4-goal defeat, right? Awful, absolutely awful. Some of the defeats under Bruce where we've lost 2-0, absolutely awful. Chelsea at home, for example, just didn't create anything. I would rather lose by that scoreline, having that kind of football played, and at least you can see that we're trying to win games. Alex mentioned City conceding 5 against Leicester there, right? One thing about City is, yes, they're not the team that they were a couple of years ago, but what they've done is, since they lost 5-2, they went out and brought Diaz in, right? He's improved them defensively massively. They don't concede goals now. I think they've had like 8 clean sheets and 9. They just don't concede goals. So the problem is, regardless of what they've lost as an attacking force, we are utterly incapable of creating chances.
Yeah,
Leeds going there would be a totally different matter. But it's Newcastle and we don't create chances.
We weren't able to get the ball up the pitch, and then today we've got Joe Linton probably on his own up top. Like, how on earth is that going to get us any goals? I can't see that happening at all, especially with the fact that the stat there that you have, Norman, that they just don't concede goals. I'm really kind of not looking forward to this. I have it's a comment really from Chris Stewart saying, if it takes us to lose 8-0 and Bruce goes tomorrow, then I will 100% take that. So that's his comment, but it's a good question. Alex, would you take an absolute battering today if it meant that Bruce goes? But you've also got to think, haven't you, about the knock-on from that, like who then comes in, like what's the state of play after that? So, would you?
The problem is, Chris, is that even if we lost 8-0, I don't think they'd sack him. In fact, I know they wouldn't. I think if we lost, the next 4 by an aggregate of 20-0, I don't. Me and Norman talked about this a little bit privately, and also on a podcast that we do on our Patreon platform. Once the play, people say Mike Ashley won't sack him if we're not in the relegation zone. But if the players stop playing for them, if the players down tools, if the players go to Lee Charnley and say, "Listen, we're not playing for this guy. He doesn't know what he's doing." They will sack him because you cannot stick a manager who has lost the dressing room. I don't care who you are, at what level. It just doesn't happen anymore. If it ever did, I think he should be sacked. I don't think he's taken us forwards. I think he's taken us backwards. I think we have peaked under this manager. I think when we eventually hit the relegation zone later this season or next season, we'll look, and he was 12th at Christmas, and that'll be used as some sort of stick to beat us with. That we didn't accept that as, I went on 5 Live the other night, and one of the questions was, well, you are 12th in the league, and it's like, well, brilliant. I'll pause the celebrations to answer this call and this question. 12th in the league is not progress, and Steve Bruce says he's taken us progress. Hasn't provided any examples of proof, unsurprisingly. But so to answer your question, Chris, I do want him sacked. I think he should be, even if we got a draw tonight, I think he should be sacked. A draw against Manchester City isn't going to change my mind. I'm going to need to see some sort of constructive, consistent improvement across the whole team for several games to change that. So, bit of a cop-out answer, but I'd rather we didn't lose 8-0 generally. But I think losing 8-0 is more likely than picking up a win. But you know what, Charlotte, on a similar point, but moving away slightly, there were several games as Newcastle fans that I'd say have been as negative as the fan base are right now, us included. And one of them was under Benitez on the 27th in 2017 when Man City came to St James's Park. And everyone just thought we'd lose 5-6-0. And it was only 1-0. Man City dominated. Benitez did that kind of make it difficult for them. We didn't do anything as an attacking force, but at least they didn't create lots of chances. Another time was actually when we beat Man City 2-1. Everyone just assumed we'd lose that game 5 or 6, and that was when Man City were a really good side. This team, whenever the odds have been really stacked against it, have always found a solution. And I think that Manchester City game I alluded to at the end of last season is probably the first time I thought, you're not the same team anymore. So it'll be interesting to see tonight, because if it is the hammering that we expect tonight, I think it would be a really clean break between everything that Rafa Benitez built in terms of, forget about ability, just a team that knew not how to lose, or a team that knew how to keep the score down. I think if that goes tonight, it's gone once for all, and then it could get really messy over the next week.
I personally believe that it has gone. So that's my upbeat input. I was in Jesmond Dean today. I went for a walk, and I was reminded of, I used to work at Jesmond Dean House, and I was reminded of walking through Jesmond Dean with a guide, because they said you should learn a bit about the Dean. And it was Lord Armstrong's garden. It was gifted to the city, but it was his garden, and it has the Ouse, I think it's the Ouse that goes through it, right down to Ousburn and then into the Tyne. And Lord Armstrong was like, beautiful, stunning natural scenery, but I'd like a few waterfalls, so I'm just going to chuck a load of TNT in. So the reason that there's waterfalls in Jesmond Dean is because Admiral Armstrong, or Lord Armstrong, just chucked a load of dynamite in. And I kind of feel that it's a bit tenuous, but I was thinking about it. I kind of feel like Steve Bruce came in to this very beautifully organized, like don't change anything, it's actually fine, and chucked a load of TNT in and was hoping for the best. And where we got Jesmond Dean and some nice waterfalls, he's actually just blown the whole place up, and it's rubble now. So that's how I feel. I'm gonna take us to a sort of a break slightly with Tim Bozaval is back with a vengeance. He got some of Sports Direct's new aftershave for Christmas, Essence of Charnley. What's the best present you got? Essence of Charnley. Norman, what do you think that smells like?
Pasties. Or like,
okay.
you know, when you walk down like a sort of tight street, at the back of the street is where the restaurants put the bins out.
Yeah,
That
smell.
yeah.
On a hot day.
Oh yeah, like on a 35 degrees day when the tarmac's heated up, especially in the tarmac is then the heat from the tarmac is risen into the metal bin, and inside the bin the waste products have congealed. That's what I'm going for. That's horrible. It looks like Charlotte's gone as well, by the way.
She's had enough.
Don't I mean you? Well, should we answer Tim's question, Alex?
Yeah, I've met Lee Charnley a few times, and I
Sorry.
had we thought you were so disgusted.
I was looking for a different comment, and I was like,
did you click log in?
Enough. No, I didn't click that, Norman. I'm not you. Sorry, please go on.
Yeah, I had a bit of an awkward Blackburn at home in the cup under Rafa. I was in the corporate part of St James Park, and a really awkward kind of. We'll both try to go through the same door from different entrances at the same time. And it was kind of like, no, after you. We both like walked into each other. I think he smelled fine.
Can I qualify that? I'm not saying that that's what Lee Charnley's actual essence smells like. I'm talking about like Lee Charnley works at Newcastle United Football Club, right? For Mike Ashley, Sports Direct. So I'm saying that if the club released an essence, the lack of investment would mean that it would just smell like basically restaurant bins. I'm not in any way saying that Lee Charnley smells like that. That would be an outrageous thing to say. And if you're watching, Lee, genuinely didn't mean that, mate. It's all just banter, innit? It's all just banter, right? And I'm dead sorry.
I'm going to bring us back to the game and to our players now. This is a comment, isn't it? Yedlin is superior to Kraft. Yeah. Matty is superior to Hendrick. Well done, Bruce.
True.
That's all true. That is all true.
The first two sentences are true. That's true. Well done, Bruce, though, feels like a bit of a leap from like, it doesn't mean that those people are excellent, and it doesn't mean that he deserves any praise for recognizing that. That's literally his job.
It's like, yes, Matty is better than Hendrick, so don't sign Hendrick, demote Matty from the matchday squad for basically a year, and then play Hendrick ahead of him at every single opportunity apart from Manchester City away is what I would say. Yedlin, again, Norman called it earlier, Bruce binned Yedlin. He was done with him. He picked Kraft, he picked Manquillo, who's then disappeared, and he was wrong, and he's had to bring him back.
Question came in from Chris, who is watching. Chris, we answered this question before. What happened to Manquillo? Yedlin not seen for months, and all of a sudden he's flavour of the month. Next month we will have heard that Joe Linton played there for 10 minutes and he got a shot there. I reckon we'll see Manquillo on tonight. What do you think, Alex? He's on the bench.
Yeah, I'm going to assume he had COVID. But even before that, he was out of the team, and it's dead weird, isn't it? Because he was going towards his contract, then last season out of contract, bang, 4-year contract for Javier Manquillo, who could have left in a free and had been speaking with the clubs for 6 months. It was really, really weird. And he starts the season in the team, does all right, bang, he's out the team again for ages. It's just like, I've often said that at least players know where they stand under Bruce. I think like Richie, Shelby, Andy Carroll and others, but like some of the foreign lads just must wonder, is it what they wear? Is it their scent? Because they're just out the team.
They're not wearing essence of John.
That's it, yeah.
They're done, tone's off. Bye, Tony. See you on the other side. Yeah, I mean, somebody said that's like saying crabs is better than chlamydia. I don't know if that's true. I think chlamydia.
I've only had one, and it wasn't nice, but
chlamydia is, I'm told, symptom free. So I don't know about that.
Or like COVID can be. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there's lots of comments on here. People talking about what do we think it will take? What do we think it will take to get rid of Bruce if an 8-0 hiding isn't going to get it? Simon Smith wants to know, do I avoid the football and continue trying to finish Cats? Only managed 10 minutes so far before turning it off. Hope you all had a great Christmas. Thank you, Simon. I hope you did. Do you mean the most recent live action Cats with James Corden and the deranged, like they CGI'd out their bottoms? It's all supposed to be very strange, and I don't think I could watch it. I think the football is probably going to be better than that, but
You'd always
I say
watch,
that. Ask me in about an hour.
You could always watch Sheffield United Everton instead of Cats and avoid Newcastle.
Well, he said avoid the football, though, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Yeah. You could just go into the garden and sit there and just watch Cats, like neighbourhood Cats. Just that'd be preferable. Both watching Newcastle and watching the film Cats that I've heard absolutely terrible things about. Is it the one with Judi Dench?
Yeah, Judi Dench. It was an all-star cast. Jason Derulo's in it.
What do they call it again? Ensemble cast.
Ensemble cast.
But I've heard nothing but bad things about it. So ignore the Newcastle match. Ignore Cats, the musical. Just go and sit in the garden and watch some neighbourhood Cats if there are any hanging around.
Synovius he's asked this twice now, so I know he wants it answered. We sit here as fans talking about what will it take to get Bruce sacked, yet the pundits think he's doing great. Why is there a disconnect? Now, I will say that I think the pundits are starting to run out of excuses, and some of them are starting, not all, because there are these friends of Steve Bruce people. There are some pundits and some people who are starting to recognize that this is bad football, and that I've been on, Alex casually mentioning that he was on 5 Live. Well, I'm going to casually mention that I was on TalkSport.
Furia.
Way worse. Yeah, way worse. But actually really nice people. So thank you for asking me on. I was on Max's show on Saturday, I think. Oh dear, somebody's not enjoying it. Click the X. MF the villain, you don't have to stay. And I think it was Max and Charlie were saying it is really hard now to defend because they've watched it and it's such dire football. So if you're just looking at the table, yeah, okay, you're 13th or whatever, but it's getting harder and harder if you actually watch the football to say Newcastle are fine and it's fine. There are still pundits who don't. Why is there a disconnect? Norman, do you have an opinion?
I think obviously a lot of pundits have worked in the game, and a lot of them are obviously, British, English ex-players, for example, or English ex-managers, and they'll know Steve Bruce. I mean, Steve Bruce had a very long and successful playing career. He played for Man United as well. He's obviously got a lot of friends in the game, and they themselves who've been involved in the game, they don't want to necessarily, I guess, start criticizing other people within the game because, they might go back into it. And it's kind of like, that it's almost like they're kind of building up these trusts with other people. And it's almost like an unwritten rule, like we'll not slate each other. We'll just not do it. And I guess I can only think of it like politics. If you are a member or a politician within a political party and one of your colleagues does something terrible, you never actually criticize them. You just kind of, it's almost like you're kind of whipped into saying like turn the party line. And these pundits, it's almost like this unwritten rule amongst football, like the footballing world, that we don't see as fans, that they won't go off on each other. And it's really sad. There's not much in the way of what would you say, conflict in opinion. You look at someone like Chris Sutton, you look at someone like Robbie Savage, you look at someone like Graham Souness, you look at someone like Jamie Redknapp. These people are all pals outside of the TV studio. Like they'll all be on friendly terms with Bruce. So none of them are going to go and criticize him. But if you put a foreign manager in there who hasn't come through the English game, who isn't big pals with him, who hasn't been for a few pints with him, that doesn't matter. Like that person isn't going to kind of cross their path in the future at any point. So that's my take on it. Anyways, could be completely wrong, but that's just how I feel about it.
No, I think you're right. I just think that's really sad because I think a good friend, because this is this is the difference. I think they're pals, but they're not actually friends. These are not the friends with this man, because I think a good friend, the difference between an acquaintance or someone you kind of like or you want to keep on side is different to being a friend, because a friend tells you when you're wrong, and they tell you when it's not going well, and they tell you when they're worried about you, and it's hard and it's difficult, and it sometimes means that the friendship isn't good for a bit, but that's what a friend does. These are people who are like, you know, I'm sorry to use a phrase, but like bootlicking, like tryhards who just want to keep everyone on side and everything happy and are ignoring the actual reality.
Quickly, what I will say is, right, if you are, you know, in your workplace, right, or like all of us who work, if there's someone that you get on with at work but is doing a terrible job, imagine going on national television and saying, yeah, they're doing a terrible job. It would, like, you probably wouldn't do it. So to a certain extent, I get it. Basically, the TV companies are employing, to a certain extent, the wrong people to comment on managers like Bruce, because it's like they're asking them to do something that they probably deep down don't really want to do, and therefore won't.
Alex?
I have a point to make about this, but we've just been alerted in this pre-match interview. Bruce has said the histrionics going on around this club at the moment are ridiculous.
Histrionics tend to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I've not heard of many fine histrionics.
The problem is there are no fans in ground. There are no fans in the ground. Bruce couldn't get away with saying that. If Bruce had said that, because we played Liverpool 3 days later and lost 5-0 tonight, he wouldn't be able to leave the technical area. And the guy is, I mean, I saw a thing today on Twitter saying it was Dean Smith's 100th game in charge of Aston Villa today. And he took over them 15th in the Championship and they're 6th in the Premier League. Who did he take over from? Steve Bruce. He had the same squad pretty much that turned them from hurtling towards relegation to getting promoted that season, which he did. And, you know, Bruce doesn't look at that and think, what did Dean Smith do that I didn't? He looks at that and thinks, nothing. He just thinks, part of the job, they played for him, they didn't play for me, all that kind of stuff. And in terms of the wider the pundits, the problem with Steve Bruce is, and managers like him, as Norman's touched on, Steve Bruce will get another job in the Premier League or the Championship. You know, either get a job in the Premier League for a team that's already pretty much relegated in the once someone's safe to take them down and bring them back up, or he'll get a decent Championship job because you get the Middlesbrough job, for example. I imagine in the future, if Warnock doesn't take them up, he will get the Middlesbrough job. And every single pundit knows that punditry, apart from some of the select ones Norman talked about there, it isn't a long-term thing. You can be replaced at any point. New pundits are coming into the game every single year. You look at someone like Micah Richards, right, who's doing very well, sticking up for Steve Bruce. Micah Richards, apart from being like one of the friend or not friends, you know, played for Bruce, likes Bruce, talked him up, did a terrible job at Villa, but Micah Richards still talks him up. They know that if Micah Richards is doing a Middlesbrough game in 2 years' time, if he needs to call Steve Bruce, the manager of Middlesbrough, whoever it is, to find out the team selection in advance, to find out how they're going to play, to find out how he thinks it's going to go, it's beneficial to Micah Richards' career to do that. And Norman, you made a great point about the foreign managers, because I compare Steve Bruce to someone like Marco Silva. And I'm not even saying Marco Silva's a good manager, though I'd take him every day of the week with Steve Bruce. No one's ringing Marco Silva to find out team selections. No one's going out for dinner with Marco Silva or meeting them for a few drinks at the end of it. You know what I mean? And that I'm not going to praise it from Bruce, but it's like networking, isn't it? It's networking. It's part of his job.
It's so cynical. I know that it's part of it, but that feels so cynical to me.
Yeah,
it is, but it works, doesn't it? It's genius, really. Look at Allardyce. Look, Allardyce getting the West Brom job. Sam Allardyce is bad at his job. He's so bad at his job. He got given a job. He's been given two jobs, really, 3 jobs if you include Everton, but 2 jobs that were miles outside of his ability. And that was Newcastle United, and he totally wrecked that. And he got the England job and was sacked for corruption. Do you know what I mean? So, like, any time Allardyce has flown near the sun, he's well and truly fallen back to earth. Yet he's still been, like Pardew a couple of years ago. Norman, I think you even said it when Pardew got that West Brom job. You just said they're going down. They're getting relegated. I'm telling you now, West Brom are getting relegated under Sam Allardyce because he's not a good manager. But how has he walked into that couple of million quid? And it's a lot of money through networking, through people telling, you know, if West Brom's owners or managing director to ring people they think know about the game, people on Sky, Jamie Redknapp, get Sam Allardyce in. you'll do a good job. And ultimately, I don't blame them for it because it's a system, isn't it, that just rewards blokes who speak. Yeah.
Mediocrity and this stupid little group.
100%. I mentioned politics before. Now, like basically, Priti Patel a couple of years ago, she had gone to Israel and tried to set up like deals outside of her remit, and she was sacked. She was sacked from the government, but she stuck by Boris Johnson's side. And then 2 years later, that's all forgotten about. She gets to become the Home Secretary. Like it's on a micro scale, it's the same kind of pattern. It's like when corporations pay for seats at party conferences, they'll buy like a table and they'll spend like 50 grand, and then what that means is they've got the years of a politician. It's the same thing, that it's scratching each other's back. It's an old boys network. For me, that's exactly what it is. And Alex makes a good point there on Micah Richards. Another way I'd look at it as well is imagine if Micah Richards wants to make it as a coach in the game. You know what I mean? It's a case of, again, picking up the phone. I've just got my coaching badges. Any chance of getting in as a coach? I'm not saying that's what he would do personally, but what I mean is that's kind of how it works. It's like if you get too many people in the game, then you might be cutting, you might be kind of cutting these ties that might benefit you in the future. Doesn't make for kind of critical analysis, does it?
It does not. Scott Williamson says, have you seen Bruce's pre-match? Wilson has had a knock. We're playing a good Man City team. So his excuses have started early. And then I've just got my phone here and we've been sent a quote saying, this is Steve Bruce quote, we've had a bad week. It's as simple as that. The disappointment of getting beaten by Brentford topped off a miserable week. The histrionics that have gone on is quite ridiculous at times, but that's what it is at a club like ours.
Ridiculous where there's no one in the ground. Is he sat trolling through Twitter?
Yeah, he must be, or someone is. What better way to get stuck into them today?
Is that like ours? He's done it. He's done the club like ours. He's done it's Newcastle. They're an impossible club to manage. That to me, that's what that ties into. It's the standard. The histrionics are ridiculous. At a club like ours, it's always Newcastle, isn't it? We are like we're the impossible job, aren't we? That's it. He's taking that line.
It's insane. I can't believe it. It's such a he's supposed to be this, and I think he's probably a nice guy somewhere in there. I've met him and he was okay. He was nice. He had a nice dog. I said hi to his dog. But like using language like that, and we will wrap up soon because it is nearly 8. Using language like that when the fans are not in the ground, when people are not there to, I just think it's like it's so us and them. It's alienating this massive fan base. I don't know. I think it's insane. He knows that it's not the fans he's got to keep on side. He's the only manager in the league who knows if he loses the fans, he'll still be okay until season 21-22 and St James's is full again. That makes me really sad because that's where would I can't even speak. Oh my God, I can't articulate what I'm feeling. I don't know. I say astonished a lot at the moment. I think it's kind of my word of the moment, but it astonishes me.
It's constant, man. It's constant. Like this sounds like a kind of self-pity thing to say, but ultimately, Newcastle fans, right? There is this narrative of us we expect Champions League football, we expect really entertaining football. Our expectations are too high. We all know it's rubbish, right? We're not rubbish, right? But it's copy, isn't it? It generates clicks, it generates advertising, etc., etc. Been the same for years. And what's really unfortunate is by Bruce saying that, by him actually buying into that narrative to protect himself, any argument that he's a Geordie doing his dream job becomes utterly moot. Because if you are, this Geordie doing your dream job, Newcastle's your lifetime club, you don't buy in that narrative because you know that narrative is a lie. But what you're doing is you're actually using that narrative to protect your own back, and it's really sad. And no, obviously going to beat Man City 2-0.
Well, with 5 minutes to go, I think we will wrap it up there. I feel really like normally this like does get me like pepped up, and I'm like a bit like, okay, it's the game now. I've chatted to my friends. We've had all these people engage. It's been so much fun. Thank you to everyone who's written comments and asked questions, by the way. But now with the pre-match comments, I just feel so dejected. I feel like I'm about to swear, cover your children's ears. Like, just fuck off, man. Like, I just feel we put so much effort, like we do. We make content. We engage with this on like so much, and like just fuck off. And everybody else, like it's not just us, just because we make content like daft YouTube videos. It's you know, all of you sitting at home, you know, with your BT Sports subscription so that you can watch it. I just think like, I don't know. I just feel annoyed. I hope we win. All right, right. What? Like, let's do a minute. Norman prediction.
2-0 Newcastle, obviously.
Okay.
After everything we've said, I'm covering me back.
All right, Alex.
3-0 Man City, and Steve Bruce will be delighted with that.
Okay, I'm gonna go 4-2 Man City.
2
No.
goals.
2
No,
goals.
4-1. I reckon we might get one, maybe an own goal, and then that's it. That's it. We're losing them. Thank you everybody for watching. Oh, 5-0 City from Magnus. Oh, that's what it's going to be, isn't it? Thanks so much for watching. Merry Christmas. I hope you all are safe, well, and had a good day in this strange time. I'll be back next week, probably Friday. I think that's New Year's Day. We'll do one before the Liverpool game. There you go. Thanks so much again, and take care. Enjoy the game.